Well, 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 we're finally off to Freetown in Massachusetts. It's out by Fall River. We were going to go the other day, but I can't remember why we didn't go. There was a reason. I don't know if it was, well, oh, I remember it. DRZ, his back wasn't right. That hasn't happened before, but didn't feel like going out that far. We're not sure how his back would hold up, so we held off a week. But the three of us piled in the car and hauled off to go to Freetown, which we thought was going to be a blast. It's too bad when I do this video today that I didn't record the first, I don't know, half hour of the ride, because to be honest with you, it was the hardest ride I've ever done. In a half hour, I was exhausted. When we're picking it up here, we're on the second little section of rocks. After about a half hour, we already took a break, and it's like watching paint dry for me. It is brutal to watch me try to negotiate this rock and ledge and root and whatever the heck it is we're getting stuck on, or I'm getting stuck on. As usual, Mike and DRZ, they're floating over it pretty much, but me, man, it was miserable. I called Mike and DRZ every name in the book under my helmet, trust me, because I was like, this is not even fun. So you'll get a chance as we go along here to just watch the struggles of the first, I don't know, 10-15 minutes of this part of the video. I never got any flow. I couldn't get myself rolling. I just couldn't get anything done. It was just terrible. Stall, start, grind. I don't know how I didn't blow up a clutch, really. It was terrible. But in the end, I would always say it was a good time too. Anytime you can get out there with the boys and just have a day in the sun, in the woods, is a good day. And you know, I realized on this trip afterwards, you know, how much I just enjoy even the rides up to these places, because, you know, I don't have a lot of other friends to bat around stuff with and discuss stuff with. And when you got a mix of people like we have, the three of us, and sometimes if there's a fourth or a fifth, it's even better, but at least the three of us. You got me, the old man, lived a little bit more life than the other guys, has one perspective. You got DRZ in the middle, you know, in the prime of his life. And then you got Mike, the young guy, just starting out, you know, going to be getting married here in a little bit. And, you know, going to go back to school and do all the things that I've already been through and Dennis has already been through. So it's really neat. Our perspectives are usually not the same. But you know what? I appreciate each thing that they say, and I learned something from each of them, which is pretty cool. So anyway, you're watching me try and grind through this. It's not pretty. Oh yeah. This place is like a tale of two tales. Tale of two tales? That can't be right, is it? Whatever. It's two different places is what I find. We started out, we drove the car with the bikes into some place we probably weren't supposed to. I'm sure there's a loading zone, but we couldn't find it. So we finally just pulled over near a gate, made that the place. And immediately the first trail we hit was just brutal. Worse than what you're watching here. Struggled even more. And I was like, oh man, if this is how this day is going to go, it's going to just be, well, not going to be a long day, because to be honest with you, if I did this for an hour, I would be totally used up, and I would have gone back to the car and let those guys ride for a couple of hours, and I would have been happy. I would have slept. But it does get better, or easier. I don't know if it's better, because this is actually fun. I just wish I had more strength and energy. I guess it's just being old, you know, it's just the way it is. Because it's not that it's not fun, but it's just draining. You know, it's 85 degrees out, and you just never get to float along and just trail ride. Everything is a dodge a rock, climb over a boulder, hit the front end on something. Watch, I ping off a tree somewhere in here. You know, it's just like getting banged around. Typical, really tough trail riding for me. And like I said, if it was didn't change, it would have been a really, really short day for me. But the other side of this is, when we do get out of the really rough stuff, there's just a lot of like fire road and open trail, you know, I would call it relatively easy stuff in the same state park to ride. So if you're watching this going, I don't want any part of this, it's boring, it's hard, I can see that. For example, if I watched this and thought all there was I don't know if I'd want to run up here to ride this place. But you'll see a little later in the video, hopefully, that there's just some really relatively easy stuff that you can just float along and kind of relax on, and you're still dirt riding, you're still on your bike, but you're just not battling every second of the way. And you put the two together, it does make for a pretty enjoyable day. If I had it to do over, I would break it up a little bit, ride some of this really hard stuff for a while, ride some easy stuff, come back to some of the hard stuff. But the truth is, we didn't know where we were, and just trusted Mike and DRZ to pick a trail and figure it out. Luckily, we didn't get to anything we couldn't get through. Just some of it wasn't as easy for me as I would have liked it to have been. But now I have to get to my part of the stories I always try to put in my video, where I explain that I learned something. And you know, we rode Patch Hog last week, and I didn't do a video on it because I didn't think there was much to talk about as far as the trail ride goes. Although there were some really hard things in there. I didn't have my camera on all the time, so it didn't seem worth it to do it. But with the DRZ the Woodsman, as usual, and we're finding out things, or I say for me and Mike, I think he's like me, we're finding out stuff we had no idea about. By the way, here's some of the little bit of the easier stuff. Still rocky as can be, as you can see, but a little more open, and can get a little bit better flow going. You know, I just wish I wasn't exhausted at this time. I probably would have really enjoyed this, but right now I'm just trying to recoup a little bit so I can stay out with it. But anyway, I don't know what's going on. I've been told it's because it's been a dry season, but man, they're not locusts. What are they? I can't remember what DRZ told me. They're not locusts, but they're like caterpillars. They are so thick in the woods that when you stop, you can hear them just eating, crunching and crunching on leaves above your head. And they are falling out of the sky or out of these trees at such a rate, it literally sounds like it's raining in the woods. It is the most bizarre thing to see and feel out there when you're out there. And you know, me and Mike, I'll speak for me especially, I'm like, man, these things are landing on you. It's like just nasty. I'm like, let's get out of here. DRZ didn't faze him in the least. I look over at him, he's got to have like 50 of these caterpillars on his helmet and everywhere on him, and it's just like, yeah, wow, whatever. You know, it's just the difference from a guy who loves the woods and knows the woods, and a guy like me who's like, yeah, I like the woods, but you know, some of it I don't like. So that was what we learned last time out, that all about these crazy, I want to keep calling them locusts, but it's not, but you'll know what they are, whatever these caterpillars are. And they kill the woods, man. They can deforest like acres upon acres, and I get it now, because when you're out there, there's like, it appears to be millions of them. I don't know how many it is, on every tree, just eating every leaf in sight, and you can hear them. They're loud, it crunches, it's goofy, it's really goofy. But anyway, back to this video. As you can see, a little bit better. I mean, still rocky. The camera never does it justice. Always makes these rocks look like, well, they're like 2 inches big, and I'm telling you, they're like boulders. 8, 10-inch rocks you're bounding over or trying to work around. Not easy to do, but plugging along. Not too bad, as you can see. Pretty enjoyable, but rocky. It was weird. There wasn't a lot of hills, which was surprising for as big a park as it is. You know, usually you see a lot of elevation changes. This really didn't have a lot of elevation change. Just had an immense amount of rock and root. And oh yeah, here we go, stuck again. And just a lot of clutch work to get through a lot of it. You know, you just kind of grind your way through this thing. DRZ waiting up for me. I appreciate that. It's a place I think we'll definitely come back and ride. I think we all enjoyed it. Those guys maybe a little bit more than me, but at least next time I'll be prepared. I'll know what I'm getting into, and hopefully we can pick some hard stuff and some middle ground stuff so I don't wear myself out. I mean, you'll see I eventually just keel over here somewhere, and we have to take a break because I'm like done. I think it's right around here. I think it's like, ugh. Stuck on something. Probably a rock on something. As you can see, that's all it is.
Almost there. Great time.
I could have gone to sleep right here. I was good. Alright, so this is back. I caught off there and kind of picked it up on these fire roads, which if you have a Beamer or, you know, a DRZ or something where you're looking for fire roads to go scooting down, this place would be great for you. I mean, it's just got a lot. I was shocked, you know, most of our state forests, you know, 4 or 5 miles of this fire road stuff is all you ever get. This place looks like it has miles and miles of it. DRZ, look at this. I go around the water. He's going through it, and I'm telling you, that's why I put this in here. Look at how deep this stuff is he's going through. One time, I'm not kidding you, I hope I have it, he flies over a bump and lands in one of the middle of these puddles, and it's got to be 3 feet deep. I thought for sure he was going to go down and drown his bike, but he told me I just kept it pinned. So that's the answer to all things if you can do it. So I figured I'd show a little piece of this. It's not exactly exciting riding, but it's interesting. Look at this stuff. And it hadn't rained. I imagine if you went out here after a couple days of hard rain, it would be really wild. Saw a lot of Jeeps and trucks. It looks like they can come out here and use this, which is great, because I just never understand why we don't let people use the land that we own to have fun in it. I understand there's people that like to hike and whatnot, but believe me, there's way more of us using it for dirt biking, and if you would let ATVs in here and Jeeps and whatever these guys are doing, these places would get a lot more use. This is a Saturday, a 85-degree Saturday. I mean, as beautiful as it gets. There couldn't have been, I think we didn't see any bikes, I don't think, on the trails. And I believe we saw maybe one guy on a mountain bike. I mean, these places just aren't being used as they should be, in my opinion. You pay all this money to maintain it, you tax us to death to keep them, and then you restrict everybody that no one can use them. Just doesn't make sense to me, as usual. You know, I would say public land is public land. Let the public use it. If you need to restrict us from certain areas for ecological reasons or whatever, fine. I think we're good for that. If you want to separate some of it for people who want to be out in the woods and have dead silence, give them their section. But you know what? There's more of us that want to ride and use it that don't have a place to go. I mean, it's kind of a drag. We have to drive to Massachusetts an hour and a half away to use land. There's plenty of land around us that's public land in Connecticut that we're restricted from using because someone's decided that. I don't know what they decided, to be honest with you, because it's surely not, well, you know, there's thousands of people in there and you're disturbing them. There's not. Look around. You tell me how many people you see walking around when we're riding. I think we see one guy on a fire road walking. You know what? That was on the public road. There's nobody in these woods. I can't remember what's going on right here. If we're just trying to find the path or whatever, we finally say, let's... Oh, I see, we're at the end. We're cutting through. Come to these gates where I don't know if that goes into public road. Oh, that's right. That's the first time I've seen Dennis DRZ fall off his bike in all the years I've ridden with him. I've seen it on video where he's crashed, but never dropped his bike. So I figured I would keep that in there just because it never happens. And as it turned out, he didn't even know what happened. It's not even like it was a hard section for him. It just was one of those weird things where your tire gets slid out from underneath you or whatever. But that was a first. So that's for you, DRZ. I had to keep that in there because you're never on the ground versus me, who I spend half my day on the ground. So I got a kick out of it. And I was like, wow, DRZ actually slid off his bike. That never happens.
The first time I've ever seen you fall.
The pity with him is then kicking this thing is just like no fun. Watch this. It's like 450. He has an electric start, but the battery's not great, so he likes to try and kick it as much as possible. But I never understood that, to be honest with you. I'd have the best battery in the world in my bike, because kicking that is more exhausting than picking it up for me. Anyway, so this video is wrapping up. I appreciate that you took the time to watch it, and thanks to the boys for taking me out there. I really appreciate it.